Hello, everyone. I think we have enough attendees. We can start the UCLA's learning management system, getting down with data, that your LMS analytics journey. I would like to introduce Matthew Marcus and Ilana Internato. Matthew is a data and analytics reporting developer in IT services, enterprise data services department, and dotted line to the Bruin Learn Center of Excellence at UCLA, and provides data science support on all things Canvas, Bruin. Prior to his time in IT, Matthew supported UCPath alongside UCLA's Central Resource Unit team. They are passionate about data and enjoy helping others throughout their own personal data journey. Ilana Internato is the director of the Bruin Learn Center of Excellence within the Information Technology Services at UCLA. As a former elementary teacher, school teacher, she brings a unique perspective to her role as an IT professional. Ilana strongly advocates for inclusive design and believes engaging students, faculty, administrators, and researchers is crucial in delivering exceptional services. In addition to her role as director, Ilana co-chairs the Bruin Learn Working Group, which operates on a shared governance model. This group provides valuable advice and guidance for maintaining and advancing the Bruin Learn environment. Through her leadership, Ilana emphasizes the importance of collaboration and actively seeks partnerships with decentralized units across campus. She is dedicated to building effective procedures and fostering trust to ensure successful partnerships and unified learning ecosystem at UCLA.
All right. Thank you, Shushma. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Good afternoon, and thanks for taking some time to walk with us through our LMS analytics journey at UCLA. Let's see. So this presentation will be subdivided into two main sections. The first is effectively going to explore what I affectionately like to call our housekeeping elements, which is going to detail at a high level the LMS journey, and then the formation of the Center of Excellence to explicitly manage all support relative to this new LMS at UCLA. Second, we're then going to take a deeper dive into a curated selection of reporting that was developed during the project with accompanying video that's going to demo what we built, as well as provide musings on the trajectory of LMS analytics at UCLA henceforth. So I affectionately refer to UCLA's LMS journey as an enterprise scope with a startup mentality. We were scrappy, nimble, and highly adaptive. The project began during spring of 21 and transitioned from project to sustained, which would be the Center of Excellence, during December of last year. An aggressive timeline by no stretch, especially considering the history with the pre-existing Moodle or CCLE implementation. This monumental analytics work couldn't have been completed by just one individual, and for this, I wanted to give due credit to the entire reporting team who also supported this during the project. So that would be Rajesh Narayanan, who was our analytics manager, Tiffany Palmer, our project manager, myself, and Sudhakar Pragnapuram, my sibling reporting developer. I'm now going to turn it over to Ilana to walk us through a little bit more on the LMS.
Hello, everybody. So before diving into the methodology and beautiful dashboards that Matthew and team designed to help measure our campus engagement, our adoption rates, and risks, we wanted to take a few moments to talk about how we created a culture of cross-collaboration. So to contextualize, the transition of the LMS from Moodle to Canvas wasn't just a transformational technology change from a customized, locally hosted environment to a SaaS solution. It was also a shift from a decentralized support model to a unified campus approach. This was disruptive by nature and required ensuring subject matter expertise, campus partners had a seat at the table. We spun up work streams, which you see here on the screen. There's 6: academic, application development, hypercare, organizational change management, and data and reporting. Spinning up these work streams and having designated leads and subject matter expertise and participants across the community made sure that when we were aligning and discussing any decisions, that there was perspective across the board. And I just want to emphasize that this is about data and reporting, and having that group at the table and thinking about the way that faculty and students might perceive communication was equally as important. Next slide. So the LMS transformation was the first step towards bringing technical oversight of academic technology under central IT services. It was in very close partnership with distributed teaching and learning and academic units, and it was completed in the fall of 2022, as Matthew said. But as we shifted from a project implementation mentality, which a lot of the dashboards you'll see today were created for, we also were focusing on our sustained state. And we identified 3 pillars about sustained state. So technical expertise, community support, and campus engagement. And I'll say that the Brew and Learn Center of Excellence does all of these things, but also our teaching and learning centers and our academic IT distributed across campus also perform many of these functions. You might be thinking, well, how does this work in terms of our centralized model? And I'm going to show you our org structure on the next slide. And I'm going to preface that this is our current organizational structure, which will evolve and change as our services evolve and change, as the community evolve and change. And so this is a moment in time as of July 2023. And if you're thinking at the end of this presentation, we'd like to implement something similar, I'll say that your org doesn't need to look exactly like this, but what you should be focusing on, and your takeaway here, is how will subject matter expertise, in this case, data and analytics, be able to support the learning management system while being engaged and supported by other enterprise data resources. So we took a cross-functional approach by making sure that handling data entails collaboration between the teams on data strategy, collection, validation, and access. With Matthew focusing on our implementation journey, I can tell you, although again, the beautiful dashboards that I keep teasing for later, we have also shifted to other dashboards in our operational state. So upcoming maintenance, targeting outreach, comparing our ServiceNow data to LTI usage, and other operational tasks. Having him embedded in our team and an enterprise data team has helped us continuously grow and evolve our data analytics and insight. I'm going to pass you back to Matthew now to get under the hood and talk about our analytics and infrastructure.
Thanks, Alana. So now that we're taking a look at the foundation that we laid organizationally, we can't have a strong analytic force if we don't have a strong warehousing solution, which is why at UCLA, we've also begun implementing our own lakehouse architecture. The primary purpose of the UCLA Data Lakehouse is to provide a centralized repository of the university's enterprise data. Data is critical to everything the university strives to accomplish. It's one of our key assets, and the value of data-derived insights in making informed decisions and the importance of supporting a data culture mindset are critical to our overall success. Not just the university's mission, but it's also to our students, our faculty, and employees. The goal with the UCLA Data Lakehouse is to lay the foundational framework to extend programs for data warehousing, enable advanced analytics, and integrate multiple data sources. Through this effort, we create opportunities for data exploration, enhance data literacy across the university, and seek to democratize data to enable advanced analytics through a single source of enterprise data. And before I continue, this is just a very high-level overview of the Lakehouse ethos. I do have the contact information of our data architect at the end, if you want to get more into the weeds with them. So moving on, the Lakehouse then would empower the university for strategic decision-making. A centralized repository of our data provides opportunities to blend data, to derive analytics, and enable data-informed decision-making. The Lakehouse makes data shareable and consumable through agile and optimal data ingestion and management processes. It establishes data governance to define data access policies, standardize data definitions, define data stewardship, and provide clear understanding of the appropriate uses of data. Hosting the Lakehouse on AWS increases our operational efficiencies by leveraging cloud-native architecture to reduce infrastructure procurement and management costs. Additionally, we're expanding data exploration opportunities and, again, furthering the democratization of data to develop programs of data science, business intelligence, and machine learning. With the strong backing of the Lakehouse architecture, the data and reporting vision of aligning analytics and academic collaboration by leveraging Canvas data to inform operational decision-making could be realized. Like I said, if we don't have a solid foundation, we wouldn't be able to build what we've done. We worked in close partnership with the project leads, academic stakeholders, and a little bit of our own creative freedom to provide fresh analyses from the ground up. There were key areas, which will be expanded upon later, where we were tasked with evaluating and exploring, but it was freeing in that we had the latitude to discover, interpret, and imagine how the data could be represented. This is a little look at the overall project analytics journey, which was long, arduous, yet rewarding. In less than 1 year's time, we created over 20 dashboards and data feeds, comprehensive style guides, an overarching navigation portal. We've explored over 120,000 distinct users on the platform, supported campus-wide implementation of the platform itself, the LTIs and their utilization, even exploring if or how learning materials might need to be optimized based on devices. In the spirit of continuous improvement, we were constantly evolving our design language throughout the course of the project, and even still, refining our reporting methodologies, streamlining security, and even the overall consumer experience or journey. So now, without further ado, let's let the data do the talking. Let's begin where it all began, with our first set of reports and dashboards that we created as a form of utilization analysis. Given that Brew and Learn was a new implementation, we wanted to initially measure faculty uptake on the new platform. One of the major challenges we faced was not having a body of work nor best practices upon which we could draw. So much of the development time was initially spent with research and development of the KPIs and visualizations. Very early on, we solidified our standardized dashboard design language, such as providing an initial summary view, followed by subsequent detailed views for more granularity. We also established and continued to expand upon the notions of consumer interactivity, building out comprehensive filtration to allow for dynamic interactions with the data. Originally, we had imagined these filters would be global in nature and universally applicable to all dashboards in any given vertical, but we had to shift and adapt our design once we implemented a drastically different security model. So now I'm going to play some of these videos and then walk and talk through it as they're going. If it'll cooperate. There we go. This first video showcases breakdowns of adoption rates represented by platform logins by the departmental hierarchy, rolled up to the college and school level, or drilled down to the department. We're served up summary information, such as the counts of faculty users within each segment, as well as the percentage makeup that user base accounts for. Also, there's a similar breakdown we see allowing us to identify faculty within each hierarchical vertical who have or haven't accessed the platform, if there are any opportunities, and if we have the opportunity to outreach. And finally, it was there for a flash, but the visualization at the bottom of the dashboard longitudinally tracks cumulative initial logins over time, giving us eyes on, from the project inception, faculty access. The second video goes more in depth, restating the have or haven't logged in metrics from before. And now we have another view separating departments with the highest rates of user inactivity, of faculty user inactivity. There's also another visualization on there with other metrics which were developed to measure the freshness or recency of faculty access, but that's been omitted at the bottom of the page due to PII. And those metrics would include evaluating whether or not the individual had never accessed the platform, accessed in over 30 days, or accessed in under 30 days, along with other details for interventive outreach. Finally, we have this dashboard, which is more expansive and looks at all users on the platform. We have similar visualizations, which group departments based on rates of access, with new visualizations that evaluate the average length of time between accessing the platform. Once we migrate over, the larger circles indicate more elongated periods between access. We also have some date calculations looking at average frequencies between logins by the different roles on the platform, visualized in two distinct ways. And then there's another omitted visualization similar to the former that was omitted on the basis of PII, which would highlight overall individual user access with the same recency metrics applied. Oh, well, I apologize. Let's see. There we go. The second dashboard, or the second suite of dashboards, specifically focused on LTIs, or our third-party external learning tools, and it served as a financial analysis. LTIs, generally being vendor-sourced, come at an incurred cost, and as such, we need clear visibility into which tools are or aren't being utilized. Evaluating LTIs may seem like a distinct task, but it's far more interconnected with engagement than it initially reveals. The unifying part is that both of these reports are fueled off of the same underlying table in Canvas data, which is requests. It's very clunky, it's a beastly table, but it holds a significant amount of platform interaction data, which was essential for these analyses.
Matthew, I'm sorry to
Yes.
interrupt you, but we're looking at the faculty engagement summary and not the LTI dashboard.
Oh, goodness. It said that it paused. One moment. Can you see now? Oh. Let me stop and then I'll redo it. I apologize. How about now?
Yep, go ahead.
Fantastic. So now that we had gotten our feet under us effectively, we then started experimenting with more means of interactivity and visualization. The panel at the top of the dashboards that we'll see in a moment, listing all the LTIs, was a key element which allows for folks using the dashboard to quickly distill a particular tool or tools of interest, which carries throughout their data journey. So starting with the summary page, we highlight the relevant LTIs that we're tracking and initially identified. Based on launches, which tools are the most heavily utilized. We then wanted to understand the penetration of various tools and the correlation between overall unit adoption and launch count. We then went on to highlight the top LTIs by unit, unit being a variable that can be adjusted to account for the department hierarchy filtration. Currently, as we'll see, it's set to college and school, but we do have the ability to drill down all the way to the course level granularity. We also notice that when that unit is shifted, two of the visualizations in the center of the page dynamically adjust based on the chosen unit. Navigating to the bottom of the dashboard, we have all of the tracked LTIs sorted descending in logarithmic scale, and that was just an aesthetic decision. There was no real rhyme or reason other than that, based on the distinct tool launches. And finally, we have on the right, to the right of that, a similar visualization which identifies user groups, instructor, student, or others who are using the various tools. And then if we scroll back to the top of the dashboard, as will happen in a moment, up we go. Oh, no. Returning to the top, we have the ability now to select a subset of LTIs from the top, and all of the visualizations would then adjust accordingly. So let's say you wanted to isolate a particular subset, you have that capability baked in. The trends view is another longitudinal month-over-month analysis, combining distinct launch counts and segmenting the distinct users by role, all rolled up by the tool and unit. And we even have the same capabilities to drill down to the course level, highlighting tool utilization by this granularity as well. And I preface it this way, I do apologize that the videos may seem a little bit choppy or sporadic. They had been very highly edited for time. So when it is shared out, everyone will have the opportunity to go through and take some slower time to process through it. And I thank you all. Finally, our detailed view for LTIs introduces another form of interaction, which allows for consumers to input part or whole of a course name to filter the data. We also see the hierarchical breakdown, which gives us a subdivision of each tool based on role. So for instance, we can see the stratification of the user group for Zoom for a particular course and which ones are leveraging the tool more. Pretty handy. Finally, this last set of dashboards we have to demonstrate today were based off of tangential findings from another report we had developed. Public Courses was specifically born to perform a risk analysis. Effectively, what we found were a number of courses with varying levels of enrollment, which were potentially exposed to the open web without SSO or Brew and Learn account access. Problematic for myriad reasons, as you can imagine, be that security, student and faculty data being exposed, and even UC's own intellectual property. Beginning with our summary slide, we have all course counts segmented by enrollment term, or all public courses, all public course counts. Then we go one step further to identify of this subset, the counts of courses with active enrollment and further with student enrollment. This ultimately leads us to the identification of courses with active enrollment, which also had files present on the course site. These next visualizations group and sort based on the selected unit, which at this moment is college and school, but can go as far down as course, helping us identify where these potentially exposed sites lie. Finally, as we let it think and readjust, another longitudinal visualization at the bottom of the dashboard allows us to identify when these particular public courses were created. So we can audit any aberrations in the past, and we can use it in a sustained model to provide earlier intervention for any erroneously public created courses. So this second dashboard is where we got to get a little mad scientisty with things. The initial expanded ask was merely understanding the general if files were exposed within a public course. But we went one step further, and the various capabilities for this dashboard reveal a unique heat mapping for quickly identifying risk checks within any given course site. We also served up within the tooltips the number of files within each course. And now you'll notice these hyperlinks. And the first one is a Brew and Learn hyperlink. I'm going to pause it real quick. When we click on that, that takes us directly to the course site in Brew and Learn. And if I rewind it briefly, you'll notice that I'm able to access, or I was able to access this course without having been logged into the platform, which is highly relevant. There's also the added functionality of Google search. So you can click that hyperlink and it returns what would be queried were one to search that course on the open web. Similarly, there was a risk checker that was also added for LTIs, just in the case of any of the external data or the external tools data being exposed and that being a problematic instance. The way that we got around this, the way that we got at this was through the course UI element within the Canvas data. And you'll also notice that similar to LTIs, we have the same search functionality that's baked in as well for more easy navigation. This was a supplemental report expanding upon the files identified in the mapping dashboard. We have full course details along with the requisite instructor for contact purposes, the ability to filter based on content type, which is defined in Canvas, file size for storage monitoring, as well as the ability to similarly jump directly to the file in question. And while I didn't demo it in the video, I had actually previously downloaded that same file that I had displayed on the screen. So where do we go from here? This is what happened during the duration of the project. The project has long since been concluded at the close of last year. Where are we headed? What is the vision? As we look to the future and our relationship not only with Canvas, but also more expansive questions, the nature of SaaS products for initially is that they're never static. They're constantly evolving. And Structure as a company is no different. Canvas, as of this year, has rolled out a completely new architecture of their data modeling named Canvas Data 2. As such, all our current body of work would require conversion from the legacy architecture to the current version, which is one of the key undertakings for this calendar year. We're also committed to understanding the depth of student success as something beyond mere attendance and grades. How do we evaluate the entire student journey, both pre and post UC? And how do we establish long-term success metrics? Additionally, if we even look back again to the foundation upon which we've laid all of this analytic body of work, our lakehouse architecture for the warehousing empowers these analytic goals, and that we would have access to myriad distinct sources which could then be blended and explored in concert. There's also further development on internal benchmarking, such as addressing both Jira and ServiceNow in a more granular way, and even leveraging internal quantitative and qualitative surveying tools, relative website development, or even user satisfaction surveys, as well as external resources like Educause and OneEdTech to make more informed and data-supported decisions. And the final component is that we still, in this transition, in the effort of ongoing development of new reporting and tools, have a significant commitment to maintaining our current body of work, which requires substantial effort in and of itself to upkeep. So provided here are the contact details for myself, our data architect, Hilda Duggan, the director for Enterprise Data Services, although I believe her title recently changed, and Ilana Antonato. We would now like to offer the remaining time up to any questions that folks may have with respect to any of the material that we presented today. Thank you all.
Matthew, I do see that we have a question that says, what's the source of the LTI tool launch data? That's super cool.
The source is coming from the request table within Canvas. So I'm not sure of your familiarity with getting at LTI data, but requests can give us all of the interaction metrics up until the application is launched. And then if anything happens after it's launched outside of Canvas, we lose all of that. Or even if it's embedded, we lose all of the interaction once the tool is engaged. But we can track up until the point of engagement, and then once the user returns to the platform again.
At this time, if you have any other questions, please submit them in the live Q&A.
And just to expand upon requests a little bit more, it's super beastly. It took a lot of mining and sifting through and identifying specific web application controllers, and there was like a pair of keys that would then indicate whether or not the tool was actually launched. I'll have to take a look at the SQL for it, but I would be more than happy to share that.
At this moment, it doesn't look like we have any more questions. We do have a few moments, so we'll give people a little bit more time.
Okay. Oh, I did want to mention, like I had stated, we are AWS backed with our warehousing solution. Canvas Data 1 is currently it's being accessed through Athena, but once we migrate to Canvas Data 2, that would be in Redshift. All the visualizations are being built out in Tableau. And
all right, Matthew, we got some questions here. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay. Aside from the public file assessment tools, can you provide an example of key changes or decisions that were made based on the insight from the Canvas data integration?
I think one of the more recent ones was when I had built out reporting that was auditing a potential security breach with one of our LTI vendors, our third-party vendors. And so this was a very targeted view at a specific tool and isolating within a period of time affected courses and then enrolled individuals on the platform. And from that, we could not only go back to the vendor and identify a period of time where we would need to potentially. Ilana, what is the what am I searching for?
I'm not
not sure. Where we could take more aggressive interventive measures and just make sure that the data was safeguarded within that period of time where the breach may have happened.
I can give an operational example as well too, because of course this is built for the project, but we are relying on this data and evolving it to meet our needs. We have about 40 plus LTI tools in an integrated ecosystem, some of them at root level, available campus-wide, some of them for specific sub-accounts. As we know, not everybody uses every tool, but sometimes when vendors release updates, we need to proactively communicate with our users. And so we do use the LTI dashboard to isolate instructors that have used tools historically or currently when there's an update and we need to make sure that they're aware of that update. Oftentimes we also do campus-wide communications, but we found that targeted communications help additionally as well. So that's another example of how we've made some decisions or changes based on that. We have another question here, which was, do you have a process for departments to request access to Canvas data?
Do we?
We do. We have
okay.
there is a submission form that we have that gets reviewed to give people access to certain sets of data that we've built out. That was built for the project and is in sustainment mode. Okay. We have another question here, which is, what were your biggest challenges in rolling out some of those data sets?
I think not knowing. We didn't know what we didn't know. And one of the more difficult set of reports that I built out was it's all relative to request table. Like, I mean, it's a nasty thing. It's terrible, especially when you're trying to identify not just, let's say, an LTI launch, but an actual login to the platform, because logins can happen from the web, from the app, from different tools. And we're looking at the marriage of the two fields, which would be like the web application controller and something else, alongside IP tracking and making sure that when a user would jump from a login, that it would still tracked within the same session. It's very, I mean, it's almost like an oracular view that you have to sort of divine that table in particular. That's the most convoluted table in Canvas data. Everything else is relatively straightforward.
Matthew, would you mind going back to slide to our contact information to keep that
Absolutely.
while we continue to answer questions? I'll add that one of the biggest challenges that we had is we want to report from an operational sense on roles, user roles. So we have instructor and student and TA and roles that map to our registrar and things that are automatically enrolled through those permissions. But we do allow sub-accounts in different departments on campus to create their own customized roles for their own academic use cases. And so when we want to report on who has access to what and what role, if there's that customization, we had to really think about how do we know about those roles and how do we report on them? And so it's still an ongoing challenge that we have. What type of governance should we have in terms of role creation right now? Folks are pretty autonomous, but it does create operational and maintenance challenges when we roll out new dashboards. So that's something that we're currently struggling with. And if anybody on the call has suggestions on how we can better govern that, would love to talk to you about that. We have
I also
one
want
more.
to add, I
Yeah,
did
go
want to
ahead.
add one other challenge that we've encountered, which is relative LTIs. We don't have much access to our own data from the vendors, which is rather difficult. We can track everything, like I said, up until the launch within the platform. But once the student or faculty or an end user is within the LTI, we lose all interaction data. And sometimes we're able to get at it in a summary way through some of the tools. Others, we objectively do not have access at all, which is rather confounding.
All right, and I believe our last question here is, are there plans to work with partner and peer campuses to share style and best practice guides? Do you want to take a stab at that first, Matthew?
Yeah, I'll take a stab at it, and then I want your take on it as well. But for me, I would love that to partner and to share, because the one bit of advice that I received going into the project was all of UC is effectively migrating over to a Canvas-based LMS. We all need to have some sort of synergy between the way that we're building out reporting. The metrics need to align, the design language needs to somewhat align. And so when we were approaching all of our reporting, it was with that in mind. It was very much making sure that it could be more expansive in how it was leveraged.
And I'll end that thought with the reason we applied to present today is because we wanted to get the word out about what we've created and hope that we can help other campuses that might be thinking about implementing such methodology, or ones that might be able to expand and complement. So this is just the beginning of this collaboration.
Yep.
I believe those are all the questions that we received. I'll give it another minute or two in case something pops up.
I do want to say it is quite nice being able to devote a large chunk of the presentation to actually like talking data. I affectionately call myself a data junkie, so you have like a little window into me.
Okay, we have one question and one more question here, which I love this question because we haven't really done this much, but I think there's a lot of opportunity here, which is, can instructors use the data to measure students' engagement and participation? Matthew, during the project, were there I know that there were certainly academics involved in helping set up these dashboards in a consumable way. But if you can talk a little bit about do instructors have requested access to such dashboards, or how we might go approach that if we wanted to?
So they have not requested direct access, but theoretically they could. I mean, there is no restriction apart from needing to go through, I think, an approval for it. I would want to get this in front of them more so.
Yeah. I think that's this is our first year being in full operational state. And I think that this would be a really natural extension of kind of learning and establishing learning analytics and other analytics, but we just haven't gotten there just yet. But I do appreciate the question. Yeah.
And to close out that thought, you notice that a lot of the reporting that we developed was very much descriptive analytics. We were kept within that realm. Predictive or anything else beyond that were not dissuaded, but that wasn't the primary focus of the project. And we're still navigating how we can potentially expand the analytics scope as it pertains to the Canvas data.
Okay.
All right.
So you have our contact information. We hope that we hear from you, and we appreciate your time today.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Should I have left it up?
Please submit the survey if you can.